everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka like Queen Lisa. And today I have my buddy Satoshi Sean joining me. We've got things popping up everywhere as it has been for the last few weeks or months. Um, and it looks like America could be headed for a constitutional crisis. We are going to be giving you a lot of news pretty quickly and some things you can do to get involved for We the People. Be right back right after this. Hey, how are you? You're still muted, my love. You're also still muted.
And that's all I'll ever say about that.
And now we'll never know.
We know.
The great thoughts of Satoshi Sean.
It's not as bad as when I interviewed Rhodes.
I thought that was a McAfee thing.
No,
McAfee did
the first
that.
time I ever talked.
Was
That
it
was the
Rhodes?
first time I ever talked to him. It was the first time I interviewed Joe Rhodes. And it started off just crazy. And then he started saying things that were like, I can't believe he just said that. Because, he's worked for like the FBI and the CIA
And Disney.
And all that was why he couldn't. He was there like at the beginning of Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
But he couldn't be that involved with the the cypherpunks because of his clearances and where he was working at.
Mm-hmm.
But he was still like talking to everybody and like he was there. But he was telling me stuff. I was like, what? You're saying that on camera?
I think he knows a lot more than he ever
30 minutes in or 25. I looked and I never hit record. And I was like, Joe. He was still talking. I had to like restrain. I was like, Joe, stop talking. I forgot to hit the live button or the record button. And he literally went, oh my God, thank God. I don't know why I was saying all that stuff. I was like, oh, okay.
I'm like, well, can you say it all again?
Yeah, I couldn't get him to. He was like, didn't want to talk about all that stuff.
And he's like, no, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can always say the world is a worse place because I did not hit the live button.
But maybe save Joe's life. Who knows? I was looking into, and I won't disclose what I put together in my head because everybody needs to, the information is all out there, but this is part of the thing of it, time to grow up and people to, I love like our community is such truth seekers, they want more information, they want knowledge, they want to find the facts, they want to put things together for themselves, they want to see the truth. And, but once you start seeing it and then you put these pieces all together, and find out how long all of this has been going on and what's been going on and, read Fruit from a Poisonous Tree and, find out what, our government has been doing to us, we the people, for so long. And it's kind of shocking. But I did see something about the Bear Stearns collapse being tied with child sex trafficking. And now we're seeing that same stuff with the accounts with JP Morgan and the Epstein stuff and all that. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's happening again. It's like history rhymes,
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of that right now in the news, a lot of history rhyming right now in the news. Things that were happening. Well, I can share some of my tweets.
On that, I wanted to, Balenciaga is coming back. Like people don't.
I saw Kim Kardashian went to their show or whatever. I'm like, did we not clarify that they were
done?
Clearly done. I mean, I thought everyone
no
clear on them being pedos.
It's getting clout again. I watched. I picked up on one thing. Like it should be like poison. Nobody should want to bring it up, and it's like we want to distance ourselves. And
Well, the people that choose it now, then that should be the stain on them, and
Yeah.
everyone should say,
Well,
"Yes, they're publicly choosing that."
I was watching Gen V with my Asian son,
What
and
is it called? Gen V?
Gen V, yeah, it's a spinoff of The Boys. Um,
Also don't know what that is.
you do. We talked about it on We're Watching Around the Table. I told you it's like extremely violent.
Mm.
That's superheroes were real today.
Oh, okay,
That
yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So it's a spinoff show that I kind of didn't want to watch, so I thought it'd be too YA. Um, but it was not too YA. Anyway, it's like a university where superhero kids go, um, and then become terrible people. But uh, like this girl was going on like for an interview, because superheroes are like commodities that are they're like actors, and they have movies and stuff. Anyway, she was going on, and the producer was like, "Is that what you're wearing? Do you have clothes?" And she was like, "No, I'm just a regular person who's a superhero, that." But she's like, "Get the Balenciaga, get that." And I was like, "Did they just say that?" I was like, "Did they? This must have been recorded before everything happened." But then I saw a musician with
Oh, did you just get cut off? And he's gone. Apparently, you're not allowed to talk about that. Um, oh, wait, he's back.
interesting.
Mhm.
But
You're a bad
I don't
boy.
know if you heard what I was talking about. Um, they said get the Balenciaga for the chick in the show, and I thought this must have been recorded before it all happened, you know. But then I saw like a guy wearing a hat, Balenciaga hat on the video that just came out like this week, and I was like, man, they really are trying to do like a big comeback. Um, which I think it was, I forget who's partnering with them, whether it's Disney or someone else for like their comeback. But it's you're right. It's like that's to me it's really disheartening because that just shows that people don't really care. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't get any worse than that. Um, actually,
Well,
there
they're just outing them. I mean,
there
it's that walk of shame. It's the public. You remember when they made Chrissy Teigen walk down, like, Hollywood Boulevard with the naked Barbie or whatever? Like, that was her walk of shame. Like, everybody knows what you do. Everybody knows who you are,
the
you
thing
know?
is with them is like with most anything else, the people have the power, which I've been thinking about today. Um, but when it comes to them, it's not they don't. People don't really have power. It's not like you or me was buying Balenciaga. That's all them. You know what I mean? They're going to continue to exist because the only people that buy their shit are the elite rich people.
Satanic elites.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who don't. Now those people are when those people we have control over. Those people, the people have control. Like, oh, we're not going to have anything to do with you. You're buying Balenciaga shit, so we're not going to see your movies. We're not going to buy your cosmetics or cologne or that's how we can make an impact.
Well, and so that's some of what I wanted to talk about today. I had a meeting earlier today with a group that I found going down one of my rabbit holes trying to fight for freedom. I found this group called American Promise, and they are trying to pass the 28th Amendment, which, so right now, the Supreme Court has continued to use, which this is so blasphemous of the Constitution, I think, but they have been using the First Amendment in a fight, saying that it's okay for big corporations to give the law, use for the First Amendment as a reason for giving uh, lobbyists money to give to politicians and all the stuff that the umbrella promise that our buddy I am has written his white paper and come up with like a structure just try to stop that, a mechanism to try to stop that. Well, this group is working on getting grassroots movement to get people in every state to get resolutions in your city and your state to push back against and basically like tell the Supreme Court that they are in breach of contract, that they have broken trust with the American people, with the state of Oklahoma, the people in the state of Oklahoma, that you're infringing on my rights, that that's not protected under the First Amendment, and to make it clear in the 28th Amendment that that they would um, that they cannot that the decision should be made at a state level how dollars are given to politicians or whatever, that they don't get to make a sweeping decision about that. And so that's what they're trying to bring the decision back to a state level, kind of like the turning over of Roe versus Wade. So I just had a really good talk with them. I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm gonna do some more research on it, and then I might bring them on the show or something, or get involved with that project. I don't know. I'm pretty excited about it so far. But then I thought about partnering them, or at least introducing them to I Am For I Am and the umbrella promise, because if you bring the limitations and bring the decision back to the state, but then also bring a solution, that could be really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you just have to make some introductions and then get we the people behind it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the power that we have. Is people forget that they have that, and I think we're reminded of that during the Bud Light thing. But
Mhm.
I don't know. People need to like the momentum's gone on that, and we need to really always needs to be there. No, we have, because we've given it up. It's become, it used to be the majority. The silent majority, whatever you want to call it, but now it's the loudest minority. I mean, it's odd how corporations or people will just bow and bend the knee to who's ever yelling at them the loudest.
Mhm.
Um, it's
Well,
a
LLS did it, and that's why we stopped supporting them, because they stopped having man and woman of the year. They just went to person of the year because the woke was pushing on them so hard, and I said, well, then I'm going to push just as hard, and I'm going to tell everyone that that's why I stopped supporting Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, because you literally do research, and it's dangerous that you do research in laboratories, you're scientists, and you don't recognize XY chromosome. Like, that's dangerous.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's the thing that they do.
yeah.
That's why they always want to talk about gender, and don't argue, man. Like, I don't talk about gender, but sex. There's only two sexes, and they'll be like, well, yeah, but there can be men can be pregnant. Oh, whatever, your thing. There's just only two sexes, and only the female sex can get pregnant. If you keep it on, it's like they want the argument. They want
Oh,
the emotion. They want it to blow up. They want confrontation,
confliction again.
and it's not. They're like, yeah. There's only two sexes, but there's 500 genders, because gender is not sex, and that's it. You just have to accept that, and it frees you. You're like, okay, whatever, man. That's your thing.
Well, I know the CDC, that was one of the stories I was gonna quick skim over today. The CDC has gotten rid of the term woman, and they just have pregnant person or something like that. And I said, well, then we should delete the CDC.
Well, it's it used to be the real world was the real world, and parents' job was to get their kids ready for the real world, and parents stopped doing that, and it became more about you know uh, not hurting the kids' feelings, and it started with participation trophies, and it just went on from that. But it's literally the government agency is like, oh, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. when does the government care about people's feelings? It's like this is the real world here. It's you can say that you're a woman, you can identify as a woman, but you can't get pregnant, and you can say you're a man, and you can wear men's clothes or do whatever, but you have to, when you go to the doctor,
Oh,
you're a female. You have to have female drugs. You have to have female. That's all. That's the way it is. Like you said, it's dangerous if it's not. Um,
mhm.
but that's I said, the difference between sex and gender.
That is crazy. So just there's a lot of I had a really amazing interview with Jim Willie yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it. If you didn't, please go check it out. There are two clips. One of them we get started and it goes in about 6 minutes and then gets to glitching, kind of like Sean, you're kind of freezing up on my end. I don't know if it's freezing on your end, but
No, everything's
um, okay, good. Maybe it's not freezing for everybody in the public chat. I'll kind of keep an eye out. But then so we stop and then he's like, just send me a link on Zoom. So it's the second half, it was recorded. I say half, it was like an hour and 15 minutes long, but went into the bond crisis and the bail-ins. It's all going to kind of happen at once and sooner rather than later. And there's some other things happening around that are expediting that. And so you guys go watch that and check it out. But look for the one with the green, or no, the one with the blue logo. I think it's the one with the blue logo with the gold coin and his face on it is the one that's a little bit longer.
Something weird. I used to be like a little bit stressed about crypto. I have the bulk of my money's in crypto, and it could go up, go down. But literally, like the past month, like most all of my money has been in the bank, and I've been just very nervous.
Yeah,
about it being in the bank, which I was never.
it would be.
Like, I know the banks are going to go, but I've never been scared before. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to keep all of it in this one account. And I want to put it here. They don't like having it all in one bank. And so it's so odd. You know what I mean? Like when you look at the balance, and you're like, oh, it used to make me feel like secure and calm, and now it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Like it's in my car, and someone could break in or something. It's a very odd feeling, but I think it shows.
Well, I know we talk about like, well, okay, you have to put some in to pay bills, and how's that going to work? And then, well, what day is it all going to happen? And should you hurry and pull something out? And, Uncle Cliff always said it would happen on Tuesday, but what's the it part? Is that when the banks are going to fail? But then you hear the Fed say, we'd prefer to do it on a Friday and on a 3-day weekend, so we had enough time. I mean, they talk about it in meetings. It's on recordings. They have a plan of how they're going to do it and when they're going to do it and all this. So it is very, very concerning. That leads me into more of our constitutional crisis conversation. There is a Supreme Court case right now that Gene Ho, this is Donald Trump's personal photographer that he trusts. This is somebody that travels with him, takes candid photos of him, his family. There's all kinds of stories around Gene Ho. And
he's actually Don Ho's.
What?
He's actually Don Ho's grandson.
Is he?
I don't know.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, you're just making a joke.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be.
Could be. Okay.
He does look a little bit like Don Ho.
I got to meet him one time, but I didn't realize the significance of who he was.
Gene Ho or Don Ho?
Gene Ho. Okay. He was when I got to speak at South Dakota at the at Mount Rushmore at that event on 4th of July a few years ago. He was one of the guys there. So he was very nice. But everybody was really polite there.
I was watching Charlie's Angels, like from, the 70s. And Don Ho was in it. It was all like about Hawaii and stuff. I just thought it was funny. I was like, oh, Don Ho. And kids are like, the bartender? He's like, yeah, the bartender. He's a famous guy.
And they didn't know who
Yeah,
that was.
it was funny.
That's funny. Let me play this real quick for you guys.
Like Sarah, just Sarah, and all this stuff. I'll talk about it, but if there's nothing there, obviously I can't talk about it. But here's the interesting thing that is in the news that does have to do with income tax and taxes and all this stuff, and it has to do with the Trump Supreme Court. This is really interesting. There is a court case right now being considered in the Supreme Court. It's called Moore versus the United States of America. And in a nutshell, it has to do with income tax, how it's taxed, what is realized gains and what is not realized gains, all this stuff. Now, I get it, because when it comes to all this stuff, financials, there's gold and there's going to be digital currency and all this stuff, and the collapse, if there is going to be one, banks and everything. I get that all of this stuff, when it comes to that, is one big jumbled mess, and you could talk about all these things in so many different areas. But here's the thing. What's going on in real life is there is a Supreme Court, and it was largely put together by Donald Trump. And right now, Moore versus the United States, if you follow that, and by the way, mainstream media is really not reporting too much on it. It has to do with taxes, how income is calculated, and how it plays into the role of the United States government.
Interesting. So the other part of that was on the screenshot. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm reading all of the parts to you guys that I'm supposed to be reading to you. Where did I send that to? No. Okay. Yes, you can see all of it. So it says Gene Ho reporting on Jacera Nacera. Show of hands is know that there's a court case right now being considered in the Supreme Court. And he said Trump's Supreme Court, called Moore versus United States of America, which has to do with the income tax. Christmas is coming early, friends. So.
Bringing that Santa, bringing the pump on everything. Bitcoin broke what
44 today that I saw.
4? It was 43, and it broke 43, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I broke 44 right before I jumped on.
Yeah. So it's everything's rising tide raises all ships kind of thing. Everything's going up. It's insane. Yeah. It broke 43 and then went back down to 42. It's, I guess you could say, hugely volatile right now, but it's it's on its way up.
There was also Trump had a big win today. This was the other thing that I said, where history rhymes. Think about what happened right before, the big event that woke a lot of people up when things didn't make sense with planes flying into things. Magically, the Pentagon cannot account for nearly 63% of nearly $4 trillion in assets.
I wonder if, and I just thought of this. I wonder if part of the withdrawal from Afghanistan was to help pad that.
Oh, to say, well, we don't know where it is because it's over there.
And that happens, it just happens. We have to withdraw, you have to move out of play. A lot of stuff gets left.
Yes.
And I think...
And then they could just say it's over there.
There was nothing made sense about that. You remember watching, it's like, why? Like a moron wouldn't do this. Mm-hmm. We can slow down. It's not like we have to leave immediately. It's like, why are you doing this? Take an extra 2 days. Take some, and I think that's the only thing that makes sense is they're trying to pad that.
Give an opportunity to create.
This was just televised and talked about, but these kind of things happen over the past, 20 years, whatever. There's a lot of money that gets left, behind, and
the other thing that happened was this, which is similar to the same timeline.
Federal officials have begun a major investigation into whether someone or many people benefited financially from the evil done to the country last Tuesday. Not long before the attacks occurred, there were some financial transactions in the stock market that may indicate knowledge of the attack before it began.
So this video
ABC's Antonio Mora is here. Whether if they ever get to the bottom of it, it will be astonishing.
Astonishing, no question, Peter. What many Wall Street analysts believe is that the terrorists made bets that a number of stocks would see their prices fall. They did so by buying what are called puts. If you bet right, the rewards can be huge. The risks are also huge, unless, of course, you know something bad is going to happen to the company you're betting against.
This could very well be insider trading at the worst, most horrific, most evil use you've ever seen in your entire life.
One example, United Airlines. The Thursday before the attack, more than 2,000 contracts betting that the stock would go down were purchased, 90 times more in one day than in 3 weeks. When the markets reopened, United stock dropped. The price of the contracts soared, and someone may have made a lot of money fast.
$180,000 turns into $2.4 million when that plane hits the World Trade Center.
It's almost the same story with American Airlines.
That's a five-fold increase in the value of what was a $337,000 trade on Monday.
All of a sudden becomes what?
$1.8 million.
And there's much more, including an extraordinarily high number of bets against Morgan Stanley and Marsh & McLennan, two of the World Trade Center's biggest tenants.
Could this be a coincidence? This would be one of the most extraordinary coincidences in the history of mankind if it was a coincidence.
It is absolutely unprecedented to see cases of insider trading covering the entire world, from Japan to the United States and North America to Europe.
ABC News has now learned that the Chicago Board of Options Exchange launched their investigation into the unusual trading last week. That may have given them enough time to stop anyone from profiting from death here in the U.S. It may also give investigators, Peter, a hot trail that might lead them to the terrorists.
Thanks very much. As a reminder of the complications here, though, the Secretary of the Treasury said today of this investigation, you got to go through 10 veils before you get to the real source.
Yep.
Two things on it. Number one, I can understand the last part, because I'm friends with the guy that was running the Chicago Stock Exchange, the CEO of the Chicago Stock Exchange at that time, and the person that was in charge of compliance. Both excellent, upstanding, really cool dudes. And John would have been on top of this, man. He would have been on top of it. He would have had the investigation. I think this is just more proof that obviously a lot more people knew about this. This is a much bigger thing, but you could say that it was in our government or whoever, but 9,000% more. Mm-hmm. That's not like a couple terrorist cells. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can imagine like this small group of people that are supposed to have planned this and kept it quiet. They didn't tell everyone in the terrorist community. You know what I mean? Or else it would have been blown. So there had to be so many people that had knowledge of this for those.
Well, so this is a new report reveals a significant amount of insider trading occurred on the New York and Tel Aviv stock exchanges a week before the attacks in Israel took place on 10/7/23. Mm-hmm. You know, the ICANN people have a lawsuit. Well, they're representing Elon and Mark Cuban suing the SEC with something to do about insider trading, and I can't remember what it's about. Now that I
think that's I want to talk about that for a second, because you can look back at the Wayback Machine here and see how we used to think about stuff. We used to what our news used to do, and that's not that long ago, and literally, you have Nancy Pelosi doing her stock manipulation, and everyone's like, no, those are it's so blatant rules for thee and not me. It's so blatant. There's a different class system. I mean, Martha Stewart went to prison for doing the same thing that government officials, servants, think it's okay to do. You know, it literally, if you go into government service, it should be service and you should sacrifice. Trump is like, dude, I'm hurting my brand. I'm not going to gain anything by doing this. That's the way it should be. Whereas these other people are like, hey, I'm on this finance committee. I'm on these things where I have all this extra knowledge. Then do you make millions of dollars, billions? You can't do that. You have to you can't do any kind of stock trading, and none of your family can.
Right.
If you take this job or you do, that's a sacrifice. You know, well, I didn't buy it. My husband bought it. Yeah, that's You can't.
Almost like all your assets should be frozen, except for you can use transparent like crypto wallet addresses where because you have to live and do whatever, but
Yeah, but
you're
you get a paycheck for that. That's the thing.
right, but
You
that you get
sacrifice.
transparent whatever
You-
during the time that you're
I
in
don't
office.
I don't think if you're on like a committee, if you're just a regular senator, okay, but you still have to hold yourself to certain
Yeah.
standards. But I think if you're going to take any kind of specialized committee role, your family can't do anything. You have to sacrifice, and that's why I think it's people's like, hey, I have nothing to gain by taking this political office. That's the only people that should literally get put into the office. There's no way they can abuse it, and there's no way that they would abuse it. But that's not how things are.
No, I want to touch on this real quick, and then I want to talk about stay on track with what you're talking about, just because I mentioned this. But so just to clarify, Elon Musk and Mark Cuban are backing the crusade by an evasive hedge fund manager to strip the SEC. Oh, well, that's not how I would state that, but they are. That's not the right way to say that, but hold on, let me find a better article. They are actually talking about not using the SEC's in-house judges, that they didn't get a chance to like be in front of a jury of their own peers.
Yeah.
Because they use like this administrative in-house. So you get like you're like you get a ticket from the police, and then he goes to his car and puts on a judge's robe, and then he's the judge too, like the old Boss Hog or whatever those movies or whatever. But
he was the county commissioner, which is what Beal says everyone should care about.
Who the county commissioner is.
Yeah.
This is the next thing I wanted to talk about, that we were kind of talking about the money. The money is
You have
corruption.
broken yet
And
another
you were just talking about the family
story
stuff. This is
that I want you to walk through. I've got
the newest
Boris
story.
up,
This
I've
is
got Cortez
from
up, and get both of their
a few hours ago, but
perspectives
it's
on this.
actually from a few
But
days
here's what I don't
ago.
understand as you walk through this. This laptop has been to the FBI since December of 2019. Why do we have a recent University of Chicago graduate that's going to break another important story almost 3 years since they've had it and no formal investigation? And this one will blow people's heads up. Natalie, why don't you walk through your investigative piece, and I'll bring in Boris for his assessment.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. I tried breaking that cold open, but there seemed to be some miscommunication on the production side of things. I can only handle seeing that corporate attempt to whitewash the crimes of the Biden family for so long. But unfortunately, I had to sit here and suffer through.
Far be it from me ever to hog the mic. The REV guys in Palm Beach, we love you. You know how this thing rolls.
You were coordinating with them.
You're assessment man.
Anyway.
Well, I think this dovetails perfectly. And frankly, today is November 23rd, right? It's the day before Thanksgiving. We should start the clock now to see how long it'll take for CBS News and all of their mainstream media counterparts to report the story that we're breaking today, which has to do with, and believe it or not, it is true, how the Biden family, particularly Hunter Biden, was ostensibly profiting off of illegal immigration into the United States. And I'll walk you through this story because obviously it's a very large claim. But unfortunately for the Biden family, the documents that are both publicly available but also included on the so-called hard drive from hell prove it. So there's this company called ePlata. And it's a digital banking platform, which we'll put it to the side real quick. But of course, with the World Economic Forum and the G20's push for this sort of digital identity, that's definitely curious that you see these Hunter Biden associates now working on technology that serves their ends. But tabling that for a second, this company has positioned itself, including getting partnership deals with the Mexican government, to be the premier platform for remittance payments from migrants from their home countries, particularly to Mexico. Over 94% of the payments that come into Mexico come from the United States, and Mexico is basically the top destination of outbound remittances every year without fail. And this is a massive industry. You're talking at least $150 billion. And this, of course, is an industry that's inextricably linked to the business of mass migration, both legal and illegal. So we uncovered documents on the hard drive from hell that proves that Hunter Biden held an at least 8.25% stake in this payment processing platform for remittances used by migrants. And what's particularly nefarious about this company, again, table the fact that Hunter Biden is likely under investigation for human trafficking, sex trafficking, all of that degenerate lifestyle stuff. But this is a banking platform that you don't even need to have a bank account to use. All you need is either a phone number or an email. In other words, it's perfectly catered to be used either by illegal aliens, by people who are engaging in illicit affairs and business activities. And the founder of this company is an individual by the name of Jeff Cooper, who not only is a long-term business associate of Hunter Biden, but this is someone who flew on Air Force Two to Mexico to hold meetings with other individuals who ultimately invested in this payment processing platform that is likely used to the nines by illegal immigrants. It's a perfect example, not just how the establishment profits off of illegal immigration and legal migration too, but it's just a perfect example of, I think, really the dereliction of duty from the FBI, the DOJ, and really any other investigative body in the United States to go after Hunter Biden. I pieced this story together in about an hour last night, just going through the hard drive. That's all it took me. Where is the FBI, who has a budget, larger than small countries in Africa, and they're nowhere to be found?
Breach of contract. You're fired, FBI.
You see, I was thinking that now there's laws in this country that you can make a mistake and it's fine. You can not do your job and it's fine. But there comes a point when there's something so bad that it's illegal. Like, you can do your job so bad that it's illegal. It's when you put gross in front of something, you can be negligent. But when you're grossly negligent, that's when that's legal. You go to prison. And I think anyone that had and looked into that laptop at the FBI should be brought on charges of gross negligence.
Absolutely.
If you're a law enforcement officer of any kind, and you see this law,
they should look at the custody sheet of that.
Yeah, you have to be like, oh, I have to do something. It's my job. I'm a law enforcement officer. It's literally like seeing something happening right in front of you, and you just walk on by.
Mm-hmm.
And you say, I was off duty. If you're an off-duty cop and you see somebody being, raped, you're not like, I'm clocking in 45 minutes and then I'm coming back if you're here. No. And that's if they were off. These people were literally at work and they had custody of it and saw these things. So anyone along that chain should have immediately, jumped on it.
This was while he was not the president. So Hunter was taking our plane, Air Force Two, and his buddy was riding on it. So this El Plata was using American property as their company jet to fly down to Mexico for meetings. Like, that's insane. When you say it out loud.
Yeah, there's like 50 agencies, 3-letter, 10 whatever later agencies. There's a ridiculous amount people don't even know about. There's agencies within agencies. And I think, we're not one of those shithole countries, third world countries, whatever you want to call them, where corruption is so rampant in our government. We're there. We're there. You can look at, San Francisco or all these other places where a lot of our country is a third world country. I think we should have an agency like internal affairs, like all large police, because they have an amount of power, and power corrupts, and they do bad things, and they need an internal affairs to watch the watchers. I think we should have an agency that just looks into corruption in the government. I think every state should have it, with their state police. They should have internal affairs for the public works, even on a county level, that they do little audits and people can complain about it to them and whistleblow.
So what we did in Oklahoma was in foster care. enacted or enabled a ombudsman, and the ombudsman was on behalf of like the foster parents, was a
Yeah.
voice. They were in government, they were a government position or office,
Mhm.
but they were like a voice for an advocate for
Yeah.
foster parents. And so that way, because if you were a foster parent, like they recruit the crap out of you, but the minute you got in, like you had no voice, you didn't have a right in
All
the
those
case or
agencies
any
have
of that.
ombudsmen. All those agencies have ombudsmen. People don't even know about hospitals.
People don't know about it though.
Yeah, they don't know about it.
Yeah.
But there should be. I think there should be that for all government agencies.
Yeah.
There has to be, especially for our when you get to the upper level there, national.
Mhm.
It's so terrible. And now I think with all the stuff that's exposed with the FBI, it's not like we need laws. We have the laws.
Well,
we just have to have them enforced.
and that's what, with this threatening thing with what the Treasury is doing. So the law never passed. The Corporation Transparency Act never passed. If you look it up, it died. It says was a bill in the United States. It introduced in the 116th Congress, and it died in the Senate, I think.
You know, I wanted to ask you about something personally on this kind of subject, but we should jump over to my channel. It's like,
okay, hold on. Let me finish this one thing, and then I will promise we'll jump over there. Then, when I go to this, where I start reading over on the FinCEN, it just says that they enacted it. So they just took this and decided to make themselves lawmakers, the Treasury. They just decided it's not a law, but they're going to enact it in January of 21. The Treasury just went rogue and made themselves lawmakers. The reporting rule is the first in a series of rulemaking to implement the Corporate Transparency Act, enacted on January 1st, 2021, as part of the Anti-Money Laundering Act of 2020. Like, that's not how that works. It has to pass the House and the Senate and be signed into law by the president.
mhm.
Like, if anybody else has more information on that, I would really appreciate more clarity. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know all of that stuff, but that made me crazy. The other thing was they're trying to militarize the, I do want to ask your questions about this. The guy was asking about the militarizing the
those
immigrants,
agencies,
but we can do
when it comes to those agencies,
Mhm.
that's a perfect example of what I was just talking about. Because
I thought I was screen sharing that whole time.
it's the perfect example of what I was talking about. It's the opposite, because they've been. It's not their job to make laws, like you said.
Mhm.
It's their job to interpret laws and enforce them. They're literally like police. So,
But it's not even a law.
well, that's the thing. They're
was
supposed to
never-
make rules based on laws and
Yeah.
enforce it. And they have literally taken that power and blown it up, and they're
Weaponizing.
they're weaponizing. They're making their own laws. They're like, oh, well, I think this means that we can come in your house without having. I mean, they're like breaking the constitutional laws, and based on what they're based on. It's not based on anything. They're just making crap up so they can have more power and wield more power.
But the way the Constitution was created was a contract that the states made to create the federal government. And so you could say that they are in breach of contract. And so you're fired. Goodbye, federal government. You're fired.
Yeah. That's how it should be.
It should be. Well, let's jump over to your channel. You guys, thanks for joining me and Sean on here on Tuesday. I know we get really passionate about all of this. I hope you are all just as passionate, and I hope you guys check out all the links in the description. And there is a link to jump over to Sean's channel in the description.
Remember to hit the like button too before you go.
Please.
And we'll see you all over on my channel. Look forward to having you all over there. Love you.
See you there.